Like it's just so like and talk about being something outside your comfort zone. I don't know. How can I make myself look more uncomfortable? Well, hello there. I'm Alex Anders, and this is the Bisexual Romance Author Blog. Okay, I'm gonna keep trying openings. What can I say? So this week I'm gonna be talking a couple things. I'm gonna talk about last weekend when I went whitewater rafting a little bit. It was a fun time. I'm gonna talk about some author stuff because it was a very informative week this week, and I published 2 books. So I'll share that with you. And also I'll talk about my drunk question of the week. So let's start off with last weekend. So, and I told you in the video last week that I was going to go whitewater rafting. I forget just how much of a break I need. Like, I just keep forgetting that human beings, this one included, needs to take breaks every so often. I forget it when I'm working during the day, where I work a 7-8 hour day and I don't eat lunch because I fast, and I barely take breaks. I forget I need these things. So when I actually left, I was supposed to go with a friend. The friend had a tragedy in the family, so she couldn't join me. So I'm going up by myself. I'm driving up. It's a 4-hour drive. And honestly, it was really pleasant. Just being alone with my thoughts and the audiobook and just driving up. I guess I have to get over this, but I used to think that driving was just tedious. But then I took that trip to Seattle, Portland, and that changed things for me, I guess, because this drive was really nice. So I drove up there, hung out with the people. It was like a meetup, so there was a bunch of people there, so met them, hung out with them a little bit. The next day went whitewater rafting, and then while everyone else went to a restaurant afterwards, I decided to drive back to the campsite and eat the food I brought and sit in my car. It was 100 degrees outside, but in my car, there was air conditioning. So I sat in the car, parked, with it on, listening to audiobooks, having a few drinks. And it was really pleasant. It was so super pleasant. And I had actually gone up there to try and meet somebody because I still have that 30-day challenge going on. There was no one there I was interested in meeting. So that, I guess I was kind of unsocial. I didn't care. So instead of treating it like a meet up to meet people, when I realized there wasn't anyone to meet, I decided to treat it like my vacations where I just take off and just have time for myself. So in that kind of mold, on Saturday night I hung out with the rest of them for a little bit, and then went to bed early, and then woke up early. And on Sunday the plan was for the entire group to go to a hot springs. I thought, okay, then why should I sit around and do nothing, waiting for everyone to wake up? I'm not there with anybody. I'm by myself. So I'm just gonna sit in my tent or stare out in the sea, out to the ocean or into the lake or mountain or whatever, waiting for people. No. So I just packed up my tent at 7 o'clock in the morning, popped in my car, and I went to the hot springs by myself. And I'm so glad I did. I got there at about 8:30 a.m. and when I walk in, there's a guy there and he's naked, and I'm like, oh, okay. Is this a clothing optional hot springs? I guess it is right now. So I get in there and I throw off my shorts and I'm like, yeah, I couldn't do this if I came with everyone else. At 8:30 in the morning, this place is clothing optional. So yeah, I just hung out in the hot springs naked for 30 minutes or so, and I would hop from the hot springs into the river with this cold river, and it was just nice. It was just a super refreshing, relaxing day, and just weekend. I just so needed it. I so needed it. So then I drive back, and I'm refreshed and ready to start working on Monday. But the plan was for me to edit my most recent book, and that was what I was supposed to do for the entire week. But I had other thoughts. I had a realization about what book? Aladdin's Jasmine. So I told you guys how, a couple of weeks ago it jumped up to, 32,000 ranking, which was good for that book. And how I was thinking it was going to be an upward trajectory. I figured out why it did. It popped up to that, not because it was growing in momentum, but because I kept sending newsletters to my readers. And every time I would send a newsletter, it would go up a little bit because my readers were purchasing the book. And then when I stopped sending out my newsletter, they, stopped buying. So, and that's not a way to survive as an author. Like, you have your readers, and you let them know, and they'll go out and purchase your book. But the way you actually make real money is by having the people who just looking for books on Amazon purchasing your book. So that's not a sustainable method, like just getting your readers, your newsletter readers, your mailing list readers to read it. So that kind of told me, okay, so what's going on here is that there are people who are willing to buy the book and people who are not willing to buy the book. The people who are willing to buy the book, the people who know me and have read my stories before. The people who are not willing to buy the book are the people who don't necessarily know me. And I kept thinking, why is that? So, I mean, it seems logical, but somehow it shouldn't, like it just didn't feel right. So I was like, okay, so maybe it's the fact that the people who are, most interested in me, the people who are in my newsletter, those are the people who, they want to read what I write. They're the ones most interested. So they will read anything. So that means that they're only trying it because they know me and they trust me, which means there's something wrong with the material. Like it's the Aladdin thing, or it's the cover thing, or it's something, it's a description thing. So what I decided to do was I decided to send out a poll to my readers on my newsletter, asking them about the book. Like, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the cover? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the description of the book? And then how would you rate Aladdin as a subject that could be written, a romance could be written about? And because again, these are the people who like me most, I got high ratings on everything. I got high ratings on Aladdin being a subject, which I always thought the reason why this book was failing was because Aladdin was a subject. And then I got high ratings on the description. And the only thing I got mediocre ratings on was the cover. So I decided to do a new cover, design a new cover. And this is the new cover. And I figured, okay, well, if it's still, maybe it's the Aladdin thing, I'll take Aladdin out of the title. So the new title is Her Two Wishes. And I made it look like every other MMF romance there is, right? And this cover, people have said this cover is objectively better. And then I changed the description to go with this new cover. And I kind of stripped out references to the genie, and I stripped out all the clear Aladdin references. So now it's just a story about this girl who is escaping her father in the castle and falling in love with this guy, and this guy likes other. It's much more of a MMF story than it is now a Aladdin story. And I decided to publish it. And I published it to everywhere else other than Amazon. And I have the numbers that I sold for the first, for Aladdin's Jasmine, and now I have the numbers for that. And they were pretty similar. It seems like this one might sell, the new version might sell a little bit more, but it's similar. And then it hit me why it is that this book isn't selling as well as it is. And now I realize it's kind of obvious. It's because, and I guess another thing I should mention is one of the things that inspired this was I was looking at the Bisexual Romance bestsellers list, and on the list is this book that is 61 pages long, so it's like a novella. They're charging $2.99 for it, and it's in the top 100 of bisexual romances. My book, Aladdin's Jasmine, is 300 pages long, and it's like an actual story, like a full-on story, and I'm only charging 99 cents for it, and yet this short story for $2.99 is on the list, and my own isn't. And they both say the other story, it clearly, it says MMF, and then some basic title, super basic title. Whereas mine, the cover is all fancy and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Because I thought also maybe MMF is dying. But no, here's a person who is charging more than I am, giving less, and making more. And then it hit me. It hit me exactly what it was. It's that, and I'll have to backstep one more time. When I was getting I have people who, readers who like giving reviews, they call my street team. And when I published Her Red Hood, one of my main reviewers said that it looked like a paranormal. I said that's because it is a paranormal. It's like there's a wolf in it, so there's like a werewolf story in it. And she said, "Oh, I don't read paranormals." I'm like, okay. I think that's the problem. It's not that it's anything that I did. It's just that it seems so obvious now. MMF readers are contemporary readers for the most part. For the most part, they want contemporary stories. They're not looking for paranormal stories. They're not looking for fantastical stories or fantasy stories. They're looking for contemporary romance stories. And Aladdin, no matter what cover I put on it, as long as I mention, that it actually is Aladdin, or there's a sorcerer, or there's magic, as long as I mention that, less people are going to be interested in it because MMF readers are contemporary romance readers. And the last 3 books that I've written, what have been the last 3 books that I've written? They've all been paranormal sort of fantasy fairy tale stories. So I've been shooting myself in the foot for 8 months now. 8 months now I've been shooting myself in the foot. But now I know what the problem is, and now I can fix it. Great. And that brings me to the next story I published. Actually, I just published it yesterday, which is, and this is a big cover reveal, which is Her Best Bad Decision. And what do you think about the cover? I like the cover. Do you like the cover? It's a lighthearted, yet sexy romance story, a baseball romance story. And I was having trepidations about having made it a sports story, and then I realized, oh wait, sports romance is like the 3rd biggest category in romance. Who would have guessed? Sports romance is the 3rd biggest category. It goes suspense, romance, suspense. Then it goes romance, fantasy. What does it say? It's romance, romance, suspense, romance paranormal, and then romance sports. So yeah, hopefully this one does well. I like it. I'm gonna talk more about it in another video, but it's if you check in the description below, you'll see the links that I have so far. They're not completely published everywhere yet, and they're not gonna be on Amazon for a little bit. But yeah, I'll talk about another video. But so yeah, I'm hoping that because this is a contemporary romance story, sports story or not, it will do better. Hopefully this will be my first one that actually has a chance of succeeding. Now that I understand that MMF readers are contemporary romance readers for the most part. And I think that the reason I was only willing to do Her Red Hood and Aladdin's Jasmine was because Beauty and the Beast did so well. But I think the reason why that did well is because at its heart, very heart, and actually every way, Beauty and the Beast is a romance, whereas Aladdin isn't, and certainly Red Riding Hood isn't. Aladdin is, there's romance in it, but there's adventure and magic and all that stuff. The genie. So I think that's what the deal is. MMF readers are contemporary romance readers, and I was not giving them what they wanted. It's not that MMF is dying. It's not like my career is over. It's not like they were shunning me. It's just about writing what they want to write, what they want to read, and hopefully this one is. So that was all of my learnings for this week in terms of author stuff. It was very enlightening, and it gives me a lot more hope that things will turn around, and that I know how to turn things around. So that's that. I'm feeling much better now because of that. And also, so my drunk challenge of the week. So yesterday I had dinner at a friend's place and went over and had a few drinks. And I've told you guys, every time I hang out with friends and I've had a few drinks, I start asking these questions. So the drunk question of the week that I asked was, what thing slightly outside your comfort zone would you be willing to do sexually? What thing slightly outside of your comfort zone would you be willing to do sexually? And, my friends gave their answers. They actually were really quick in the answers. And when I ask these questions, I don't have an answer myself, so I have to think of it myself. And I think what I came up with was being submissive. Like the personality you guys see of me here, this is me. Like, I'm not putting on anything. Bisexual real talk, that's me. That's just me. That's me. I have a somewhat of a, dominant personality. And certainly I've written stories, BDSM stories about spanking, about all these various things. And I do it from the perspective of a person who would be the dominant person. And recently, on my 30-day challenge, dating challenge, I've been trying to message more people, and someone messaged me saying, this was on one of the more risque dating apps. Someone messaged me saying that they're looking for a humble sub. I'm like, humble sub? I don't know if that's me. She's like, well, I have rules. I'm like, okay, what's your rules? And she sends me the rules, and I'm like, I don't think that's me. I don't think I could do it. And then last night I was talking to my friends, and I relayed this story to them, and they were like, maybe that should be your thing. Maybe you should try that, because they know more than anybody how much I like new experiences. Like, I just love them. I thrive off them. And one of my friends was like, maybe that should be your new experience. Huh? You're always pushing us. What about that? Why don't you, as a new experience, be a sub? I'm like, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, okay. And then the other one, my other friend jumps in and says, there's these clubs in Los Angeles, or all around, and the shore there in Los Angeles, we can just go and you could be a submissive. And I'm like, oh, jeez, that would certainly be something slightly outside my comfort zone. That I might try. And I don't even know I don't even know what my hesitation is, because theoretically, as a sub, you just kind of like do what the person tells you. So it's not like you need expertise in it. I like having expertise. I like being the one with the expertise, the one with the knowledge. That's like, I get off on that. But that's the absolute opposite of being a sub. It's you being told, and then you do it. I'm the guy who comes up with things and has other people do it. So I don't know. Could I do this? And my friend says, and she was saying, well, I'll take you to one of these places. I'm like, yeah, and I'll become an expert as soon as you tell me where we're going. No matter how much time you give me, I will become an expert on whatever it is that we're going to, just so I don't have to go in there blindsided. She's like, yeah, but isn't that part of the thing? That's kind of like being a sub. You just go in and you do. I'm like, I don't know if I could shut that off. I don't know if I could shut off the ability to be the one with the knowledge and be the one with the whatever. I don't know. I don't even know if I should try. Like, it's just so, like, and talk about being something outside your comfort zone. I don't know. How can I make myself look more uncomfortable? But yeah, it's an interesting thing. So I'm considering this. I mean, it could have some story potential, right? Like, this can only be good for my writing career. But could I get myself to actually do that? Like, and this was a female, so I'd be a sub for a female. I don't know. So your question for the chat is, what would you be willing to do? What is slightly outside your comfort zone that you would be willing to do? And because this is public, you don't have to mention sexual stuff you don't want to. But what is something that is just outside your comfort zone that you think that you'd be willing to do? And I'll have to keep you abreast of how my is it hot in here? It's really hot in here. My attempt at being a sub goes, if I actually do it. Whether I do it, a lot of stuff, because it may not happen, because that's outside my comfort zone. But I got to figure out why. It's part about, one of the things she said was a humble sub, and it's like, being humble, like that part. Maybe I could just be a sub, but being a humble sub is just, wow, that's a lot. Anyway, that's the video for this week. Again, I'd like to thank all of you who supported my Patreon page, because Amazon, this is the third month in a row that Amazon won't be paying me. The glitch is still happening. It's insane. They have thousands upon thousands of authors, and somehow me. It's just happening to me. Just me. Yay, yay. Out of all the thousands upon thousands, probably tens of thousands of authors they have, I'm the lucky sucker that isn't being paid for no good reason. So thank you, Patreon supporters. And now it's the first day of the next month. If you haven't already told me what you'd like your book to be and all that stuff, please let me know. I'll be contacting you on Patreon. And until next video, stay cooler, my bisexual one reader friends. Stay cooler. Bye.